Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Witchy week ahead. So, today I'm recording this. It is the 3rd of August, and it's been a really interesting few days. Few days. When did I record this last week? It was a bit late, wasn't it? Last week, Tuesday. So, yeah, it's been a really interesting week since I spoke to you last, and I've got quite a lot to talk about today. Obviously, our usual witchy week ahead information and ways that we can connect to the energy of of the next few days, but also some things that I would really like to talk about in relation to recent events and in relation to some things that I've been seeing over the weekend that have made me really angry. And one thing that we talk about a lot in Reiki training, so I teach lots of different things, and one of the things that I teach is Reiki. And this is obviously one of the precepts, isn't it? Do not anger or do not bear anger. And we talk about this a lot because it is really important that we listen to our anger. So the precept of do not anger, it doesn't mean that we can never experience that emotion. It is a very human emotion. The teaching really is about how we use it and allow it to move through us, allow it to come in as a teacher and show us, why are we angry, and how can we work with that anger? And of course, mostly that is an inward facing reflection. So we're really sitting with what is the cause of that anger and then how we can move forward. So I've been angry for a few days and I've been allowing it to move through me and being sort of cautious with what I'm saying online before I've kind of calmed and centered and then thought, no, I do really want to speak about this. I think it's really important. Um, and then how can I move forward? So how can I use this energy to keep moving forward and not kind of holding it? That's the trick really with that teaching, is not carrying the anger around us so that it weighs us down, so that it starts to become something so much more than what it was originally. So the source, what is the source of me feeling this way? And some of you will know, some of you, this is not going to be a surprise because you've probably been following along with my Instagram stories and my reflections that I've been posting on there. So I've got a few things to say. The moon today is in Aries, which is really interesting because Aries is the warrior. Aries is fire. Aries is ruled by Mars, and so it can be confrontational. And so I want to preface what I'm about to say with that. Like, some of what I'm going to talk about might feel uncomfortable. Some of what I'm going to talk about might make you think, okay, I have done that myself, or I've been part of what I'm about to speak on. And so I think I mentioned this last week or the week before, just being in that beautiful open heart space of don't feel like you're being called out, but feel like we're being called in to learn together, to grow together, to do better. And that was really the mantra, I guess, of what came out through the weekend as I was watching everything unfold. I was like, we can do better than this. We can do so much better than this. That was kind of this like sentence that kept forming. Anyway, so we begin Friday. I am off out. So Friday is my lunar ceremony, and I've spent most of Friday preparing. So um as I spoke about last week, Lunasa this year is really different. It is really, from my point of view anyway, it's really sad. It's heavy, it's sorrowful. There is so much damage there is so much sadness in the land at this time because of how much the drought has impacted um, the countryside and the landscape, and of course, therefore, the crops as well. And then just the untold damage that has happened because of all the fires. And there's been so many fires last week. I think since I even spoke to you with my video last week, there's just been more and more and more, and like nature reserves that have been completely devastated. And it's been really scary as well, like witnessing this, and watching clips of people trying to help, and the incredible bravery of firefighters. One of my friends is a firefighter, and she was sending me messages about what she'd been up to last week and how difficult it's been. So Friday, I was really in the headspace of this needs to be a ceremony of deep prayer. This needs to be us coming together to pray for the land, pray for the wildlife. I'd written a prayer, and I didn't type it into ChatGPT to say, give me a prayer for the for the drought. I'd really sat with it. They were my words. Um, but my heart was really heavy, and I was like, I think this is going to be quite a tender ceremony this time. And that's, sometimes that is what it is. It's not always about coming together and it being a really like joyful, happy event when you're really relating to what is actually going on. Like sometimes we're coming together as a group and we're witnessing that sadness and we're witnessing that uncertainty and those fears and everything that is real, everything that is actually happening. And so I set out in my car to go and pick my friend up who lives in the next village from me. And I end up basically pulling onto her road and it dawning on me very quickly that something is very wrong. Because as I turn down this road, there's just all these abandoned cars and cars kind of parked across the road, cars up the verge. I can see flashing lights further along. So I'm like, that must be, the fire brigade. I can see tractors. And then as I'm trying to, digest the information, I'm thinking, right, I can't get through. I need to go back. I need to tell my friend that I'm not able to get to her. And then I look out my window. At this point, my windows are down because it's really hot. And I just see the hedgerow next to me on fire. And I suddenly realize that all the people that were in the cars are in the hedgerows. They're using water and they're sort of trying to stamp out the fire and all of this. And it just suddenly, like, as I said, like hits me like I'm in a fire. Like this is really scary. And I managed to turn around. I managed to get out because I thought I don't want to be another car in the way. These people are obviously people that live, I think the people that live in the houses perhaps were on their way home from work. And come home. I'm obviously like quite shaken. It's quite scary to be that close. I mean, the sort of flames were sort of flicking up into towards my car. And so we postponed our ceremony until this week. And I sort of was quite shaken myself, and I thought it's going to be difficult to hold space. Not impossible. I still felt like I really wanted to create that ceremony and make those prayers, but I didn't know if the area around the studio was the same. I didn't want people coming and being in danger, so I was like, let's just reconvene. Um, and then I'm sort of watching updates, like the devastation of the farmland in Kimver was really significant. I think one of the tractors there had set on fire as well. Nobody was harmed to my knowledge. But these scary, scary times. And the reason that I'm cross, to use a very English expression, is that over the course of the weekend, I've seen so many really what I would describe as tone deaf posts about Lammas or Lunasa or First Harvest, where it just seems like, are you living in the same world as everybody else? Because they are just using the sort of words that you might get from ChatGPT if you put in what's Lammas all about. Oh, it's a time of great abundance. Oh, isn't it wonderful? I mean, one of the people I was watching, I was like, what are you on about? Like she's walking through. It's like, this is a time of joy and this is a time of abundance, and the berries are ripening and the grain harvest. And I'm thinking, but it's most of it's gone. Like so much of the land is on fire or has been on fire. The damage done by the drought anyway, like means that the grain harvest in particular, they've just been talking about this on the news today about England potentially going into a food shortage because of the damage done to the grains. And Lunasa is the grain harvest celebration, or perhaps not, if the case may be. And it just really hit me, which is why I got so went into quite a lot of ranting on the weekend. It was like, we cannot call ourselves nature-based practitioners or priestesses or druidesses or green witches if we are able to completely divorce ourselves from what is actually happening. And I think that this is complicated. I think that the layers of this are really difficult to unpack and unpick, because I think probably I could spend a year teaching on this, like how do we pull all this apart? Like what is happening? But I do think a big part of it is the colonial mindset. And this is where I said we might feel uncomfortable, because what is happening with the Wheel of the Year, and I would argue since its resurgence, really, where it was pieced together in an incredibly colonial way, because the Wheel of the Year, as it's presented, is a mashup of different cultures, different languages, different practices, different places, as if it's this unified wheel that everybody followed along with. My computer with its many, many pop-ups. um, and it's just not the case. Like every country within the Celtic Isles would have had its own name, its own celebration, its own rituals. And yes, there are many similarities, but this is where the problem started, really. This kind of piecing together of this wheel in, I think, the 60s or the 70s has happened. And then now there's just this regurgitation, this repeating of information that's very, very surface level. A lot of times it's incorrect as well, what is being said. And then no depth to it. You know, as I said in some of my posts over the weekend, like this would have been a time, this weekend, I mean, it wouldn't have even been this weekend potentially, because it wouldn't have been a calendar day. It would have been when the harvest was ready to be brought in. But I was really sitting with this weekend and I was thinking, what would it have looked like to be in this situation now, you know, with the ancients, with the ancestors? And I was feeling the heartbreak of what those councils would have looked like, what those meetings would have looked like as people were talking to one another about the destruction of the fires and the drought and what this was going to mean for the food, the scarcity actually that was coming. And it's really important to understand that about Lunasa, or however you call this time of year. It was always a period of assessment. It was a time, yes, to be grateful for what you could bring in and what we could receive at that time. But it was also a time of, you know, we are actually not going to have enough. It's not going to last. And we've got difficult weather on the way. And this would be a combination of the Druids and their site and people that understood the land, people that understood the crops, you know, and this real coming together and being like, we are effed, essentially. And the rituals, the prayers, the practices would have then changed around that information, what was actually happening. And so, as I'm feeling this based on my own experience as well of being in a fire, it's a heaviness. There's a heaviness this year. And that's the correct feeling. You know, that is the correct response to what is happening. When we think about the animals, when we think about how they have been displaced or killed, how frightened they will be, that the singed and burnt feathers, the fear, that's what is happening. And what I was thinking about over the weekend as I'm looking at all these posts of people just, carrying on business as usual, I was like, we are treating the Wheel of the Year like another thing that we consume. It's a real symptom of our capitalist ways, the consumerism and colonialism, because colonialism is extractive by nature, and we are in danger of having a colonial relationship with nature-based practices where we think, do you know what? These festivals make me feel good. Nature makes me feel good. I'm taking this and it's making me feel good. It's making me feel spiritual. It's making me feel like I have a practice. Now, lots about that is valid, isn't it? Yes, we want to feel like we belong. Yes, we want to feel like we have connection. Yes, we want to feel we have a relationship. But have you ever been in a friendship like that where it's all take? Where the person is just taking, they're just offloading, and anything that is in your life, they never ask, they never reach out. How are you? How are things with you? And you feel that like real imbalance of, do you know what? This isn't a friendship, I'm a service essentially that you're taking from. It's not reciprocal. And so, what I really want to invite us into on the back of all of this is, what kind of relationship do we have with the natural world, with the Wheel of the Year, with these practices, and really be honest, like how much of this is me taking from nature? And what am I doing to give back? Every time we're in connection. I was listening to this beautiful interview with a Tibetan Buddhist nun, and she was talking about this practice that she has with the plants in her garden. So when it's time for her to harvest what she's growing, she tells the plants a couple of days beforehand. This made me cry actually, because she's saying, she goes to them and she says, it's time. And in a couple of days or tomorrow, I'm going to come and I'm going to harvest, whatever it is that she's harvesting. And she was talking about how she's noticed that when she does that, it's easier to take. Like, sometimes it can be a real struggle to remove things, to pull things up, to gather. And she said it's like because they've had time to process what's happening. Um, and there's been that respect. It's the other word that I want to bring in here. The respect between, person and plant life. It's this, okay, it's time. Here you go. And she said it's like this real kind of easeful gathering. And I just happened to be watching that. I didn't know that's what she was going to talk about. But I was like, yeah, this is what's missing. We are just so used to taking, and that is a colonial wound. And we have to look at that, um, these systems of colonialism that exist within us, where we think, yeah, I'm used to just taking stuff and not thinking about an exchange. What am I giving back? Even in exchange of words, like I'm about to take. So just letting you know, thank you so much. And interestingly, like I'm seeing this at the moment with mugwort. It's like everybody's kind of cottoned on that mugwort is an indigenous magical herb. It's been all about cacao for so long, and now it's all about mugwort. And I love that for in lots of ways, because I'm like, yes, let's connect to this land, let's connect to the herbs that are here, but we don't need to overdo it. We don't need to have it in such excess, which is what we're so used to doing. It's like people who like have to have cacao every day. It's like, if it's so sacred and it's a ritual and we're doing it every day, it sort of takes, it's that consumerism again, isn't it? That kind of mass production. So anyway, coming back to the word respect. So as well as the tone deaf posts that I've seen over the weekend, I've then been absolutely horrified to see the use of ritual fire in lots of pagan and divine feminine ceremonies honoring Lunasa as a fire festival. Yes, of course, Lunasa is a fire festival, but read the room. Like, it was not the time. It's so dangerous, so dangerous. And even if you feel like you've got every measure in place, it's just not the time. It's disrespectful, it's insensitive. Lots of people have gotten so upset and angry and fearful because it's scary. I mean, I was thinking about it from my point of view, having had such a close encounter on Friday. If I knew that somebody was having a bonfire in my village, it would make me really anxious. So even if they were like, we've taken all the safety measures, it's harm. You're creating harm. You're causing harm. So again, it goes back to that thing of like, well, this is what this time of year is about. It's a fire festival and it's about this. And you're thinking, no, it's it's not about that. We've got to be able to look at what is in our reality, what is actually showing up, and then respond from there. And sometimes it's heavy and sometimes it's sad. And I think that's the other thing that we are not used to and we aren't being taught to do either. If you think of the way that these things are being taught often, surface level, take all the positives and don't look at the negatives. We're not being shown how to sit in discomfort and how to sit in sorrow. You know, these Wheel of the Year festivals are also rites of passage. And a big part of the folklore of Lunasa is death. Don't you think that's interesting? Like we've changed it to be all about abundance and gratitude and the stuff that makes us feel good. But Lunasa is also about death. The other name for it is the sorrow of the earth. It's Telchu laying down her life in sacrifice for the harvest. But we're not interested in that bit. We just want the stuff that makes us feel like we can manifest whatever we want. So I really want us to think about this. I really, really want us to think about this deeply. And I'm no longer, I think, that concerned about winding people up and having a rubbish what's it called? Rubbish statistics and the algorithm and all of that. No, we can do better. We can do better than this, so much better than this. This is an opportunity this weekend to come together and make prayer and really feel into the sorrow of the land and the wildlife and witness, be a witness to what is happening. That's the least that we can do, the very least that we can do, and not light fires, you know? And so, yeah, let's do better together. Let's think about what we're saying. Let's think about what we're posting. The dangers of using things like ChatGPT to create your posts is it's got no bloody heart. Like it can't sit there and go, it's not going to type back and say it's a bit insensitive, actually, considering the whole country's on fire. It's not going to do that for you. The whole point of writing posts about these festivals is we sit with it, you know, and we go, do you know what? It doesn't feel right to post that this year because this is actually really heavy. It's actually really sad. And so we show up authentically. And I read a post of a friend of mine and I thought, thank you so much for saying that because she said, blessings for first harvest. She said, but I don't feel like there's much to celebrate because look at the land. And I thought, thank you for showing up with your honest and brave heart and speaking the truth. It really meant a lot. And I commented her back to say thank you and, you know, hands at your back kind of thing. So please let me know how this is landing for you. And as I said, when we know better, we can do better and we can do so much better than this. And really look to these people that are holding space, these people that are teaching, these people that are guiding ceremonies. Just look at the depth of it because we want our guides and our teachers to be showing the way forward in these times that are incredibly challenging. You know, what we are facing is difficult. It's hard to navigate. It's going to require us to have steadfast and brave hearts. We don't need more voices telling us to just manifest whatever we want and all will be well. We need people who can be stewards and voices of the land and guide us through difficult terrain with honesty and authenticity and love as well. So that is my little rant that's not so little about the events of this weekend. Not to mention this weird thing that's crept in this year. I've seen so many posts this year of there are two names for this time of year, and one is Christian and one is Celtic. And I get where it's coming from. This distinction, this need to have distinction between perhaps pagan and Christian festivals, but it's once again an issue and it's problematic because what's usually being said is that Lammas is the Christian version, that's correct, and Lunasa is Celtic. Lunasa is Irish. Lunasa is the name for the month of August. I say this many, many times. Irish is a living, breathing language, a language that was banned under colonial rule. So again, how do we not cause harm? We research where's this name come from? Is there sensitivity needed around that? Absolutely. Because Lunasa is not Celtic. Lunasa is Irish, and we have to stop saying things are Celtic when they actually belong to a very specific place. Celtic is a term that encompasses lots of different countries. When we know it's from a specific place, we just say it's Irish. Yes, the word for Lunasa is very similar in Scottish as well. But there's a multitude of names that belong to other Celtic countries, which I've shared many, many times in the past. I shared them again over the weekend. Because again, it shows a lack of research. And I really want to say to people, if you're teaching this stuff, if you're holding ceremonies and you're using a word, I want you to know where that word comes from and what it means. Yes. So not saying Lunasa is Celtic, it isn't. It is very specifically Irish. It is part of a living, breathing language, a language that was almost taken away because of colonialism. We can do better than this. And if you're not sure, I always say this to my students, if you're not sure or you don't connect, you have the power to call it something new. First harvest works brilliantly. It does what it says on the tin. This is first harvest. The next one is second harvest or middle harvest or middle autumn. The one after that can be the third harvest, the end of summer. Again, I'll be going off on one in November about this too with Samhain. Samhain is not Celtic, Samhain is Irish. So again, let's lean in together and let's do better, because it might seem like it doesn't matter. Oh, they're just words, it's just titles, but I really disagree, because this is how we work to restore and we work to heal and we work to have that sensitivity around these areas that do cause harm, you know, that are problematic. So the other thing, are you still watching? Are you still here? Was just the amount of Buck Moon posts too, you know, and again, it's like, it's not the name, it's a Native American name. It's not universal. I spoke about this last week anyway. But it's just, I think because social media is such a like magnifying glass, isn't it, on these things? And I just like, I can't read another post about the buck moon and how we can relate to the antlers and how that shows up within us, because it's like, it's not the name that belongs, certainly not to me and where I live. So, and again, I wrote in my post, it really feels like the drought moon for me this year. That's what's actually appearing. So yeah, I'd love to know what you think. Perhaps you've never considered these things before. Perhaps you absolutely have, and it's been driving you mad over the weekend. Or I've really wound you up. But you can you can tell it all to me, and we can have a conversation. Let's have a look at this week, she says about 3 hours later. Um, so we're in a new month. We're in the month of August. And today, the 3rd of August, so I am currently running a course called Myth and Magic, which has been a real labor of love. Each month, people are getting the sort of folklore and mythology of that month. And this is kind of worldwide, and a way to sort of open up and move away from that Eurocentric idea that we often have of like seasons and myth and folklore, and just taking it out really wide, and allowing that to kind of move through us, and um, just open our awareness. So one of the things that I was writing about today was the 3rd of August is the Dryads Day. So this is a Greek festival in honor of the Dryads, so the trees. And I thought, how sweet. Um, Something inspiring, something a bit more positive to focus on. But I love Dryads. I love that whole idea of like the spirits within the trees, or the spirits that kind of um co-inhabit trees. But yeah, if that moves you at all to go and look into Dryad folklore, or some stories, or go and spend some time with your favorite tree, maybe take a little water offering with you. But yes, I just wanted to share that because I thought that was really magical. And Saturday this week is, I think this is a more modern celebration, but it's actually Mead Day. So this is a celebration of the drink, which is believed to be the oldest beverage that we have, this honeyed alcohol. So a nice excuse, if you do drink, to get yourself some mead and honor this beautiful ancestral drink. We've got Moon today, as I said, is in Aries. That's why I'm all fired up. I'm speaking powerfully, and this will be tomorrow as well. And then on Wednesday this week, we've got the final quarter moon in Taurus. So that's our signal, once again, that the dark moon is coming. We can start to do our waning and releasing practices, what we want to let go of. I'll be letting go of some of my hot-headedness and my resentment towards people. Um, and we are heading into eclipse season. So I'm going to talk about this more next week, but it is helpful to know that it's on the way. Eclipse season is very karmic. It's very much about looking at our endings and our beginnings, what is closing out, what is the new beginnings of things. And yeah, it can be a really interesting time, tricky on the back of Mercury retrograde and all the other tricky astrology that we've been traveling through recently. But I'll talk more about that next week. And then on the 6th of August, we have the closing out of Mercury retrograde's post shadow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record, I've been building a separate Reiki podcast. I think I might have mentioned this before. And what I really want to do is start to weave in some Buddhist teachings with astrology. And Mercury retrograde is such a potent time to practice some of the teachings, and it really sheds the light on a lot of stuff. So I'm going to create an episode at some point this week about unpacking Mercury retrograde from a Buddhist slash Reiki perspective. So I will let you know when that is out. And I'll also put the link under this video to it's called Reiki Realness, and that comes with a Patreon page as well, which has got lots of free things on there. I'm uploading free mindfulness meditations and practices and things like that. So you can always go and have a look at the previous episodes and some of the meditations that are there as well. But yeah, just knowing that is closing out this week, but it's only like a little bit of space between we welcome in eclipse season and the intensity potentially of that as well. I have pulled us a card for this week, I was feeling into what deck to use, and I thought, you know what, we could all do with? We could do with some Mother Mary, some loving kindness, compassion. I love this deck. And so I pulled this. Isn't this interesting? The card that I pulled is Our Lady of Sacred Waters. I mean, I'm obsessed with all the artwork on every single card, but that just feels so needed. So it says here in the book, um, Our Lady of Sacred Waters, I am the sacred guardian of the holy waters. I offer you cleansing, healing, regeneration, and the miracle of life. I bring you the blessing of moving forward through emotionally letting go. I honor and support your emotional life, helping you tap into its potential healing power. Dive into the sacred waters of your being, and I will greet you as you emerge renewed and ready for the next stage of your life journey. So I think I might work with this deck quite a bit over the next week. And it made me think too of just keeping it simple in terms of crystals this week. So same energy really as Mother Mary is the rose quartz, and I've got this really beautiful piece in a moon shape, but just reminding me that yes, as important as it is to speak my truth and stand up for what I think is right, actually, it's also really important to stay in the heart, to keep our hearts soft and open and accommodating and generous. And that's really Leo as well. Like Leo's able to hold the space between being brave and courageous, but also really open and generous of heart. So as I was choosing a crystal for today, and I saw that over there, and I thought, yes, rose quartz, let's be in love, let's receive, the points that I've been making with the love, because even though, yes, I'm a little bit worked up and it's a bit ranty, it is coming from that place of love. Like I love the land and I love the animals and I love the wildlife and I want people to be safe and well. And as I keep saying, we could just do better. Like, let's be better for each other. Let's really tend the collective, because really at the heart of all of these festivals is community. It's always about community. It's always about the collective. And we've kind of made it very hyper individualized. What does this mean to me? And while that is beautiful and it is important for our practice to have our self-reflections and our journaling prompts and that time, precious, important time to look inwards, think about our lives, where we want to go next, what we're learning. It's also got to be part of the collective as well, and not just remain as little individual islands. The last thing I want to share with you is going back to mugwort. This is a piece of mugwort that I found actually behind a tree on the way to work. So as I pull into my studio, I saw this the other day. And I thought, oh, I didn't know there was any growing there, but it was in amongst this huge patch of nettles. And when I got to work the following week, it had all been hacked down. And they're obviously like keeping it tidy for where the gate is. And I was like, oh no, all that mugwort's gonna go. So I went and I took some. I'd just watched that interview with that nun. Like, okay, um, I'm going to go and rescue this bit of mugwort and then I'll share it. This was actually going to be going to the ceremony on Friday. I was going to share it with everybody and show how to make it into herb bundles that they could take with them. So this will be happening for this Friday instead. But yeah, it's a beauty, and this is when it's in flower, so it starts to reach up to the sky, and the leaves are silvery like moonlight. And it's the flowers that give it its amazing smell as well. So yeah, really nice way to create sacred smoke with mugwort herb bundles that are part of the land here. So yes, anyway, I I hope you got something out of this week's episode and that it's not been me, too much of me going off on one. But it felt important and it felt authentic for me to share those things. So please do let me know how it's landed. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the dark moon. I'm going to be talking about eclipse season, which is heading our way. We'll look at a little bit more about August, but also I'll see what happens this week, and I will be including whatever I've been working with or picking up on or feel so called to share between now and then. So thank you so much for watching. Do hit subscribe if you'd like to stay updated on when I release these videos or anything else on this channel. And yeah, either write to me in the comments or you can message me directly and stay magical. All right, take care, everybody.